Nana Shastra Vicharanai Kanipano Sadharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanya Karo Radha Krishna Padara Vinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Sri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they're worth taking shelter of because they're absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presta Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchikalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Yes, so on this day, 10th of June, 2020, the appearance day of the Vakreshvara Pandit, very great Vaishnav. Here we are continuing with our Nectar of Devotion seminar. And the day actually is doubly auspicious because it's also the appearance day of His Grace Swarup Damodar Prabhu, Co-National Secretary for South Africa. I wish I could, I got all these things here anyway. He's here, just know he's here, okay. We got how many, 1, 2, we got 5 cameras here. Okay, yes. All right. So the last 2 days, we were discussing chapter 1, the characteristics of pure devotional service. We have spoken about 3 of them. How it gives, pure devotional service gives immediate relief from all distresses, how pure devotional service is all auspicious, and the pleasure that one gets from pure devotional service. And there were questions. We reminded you of those questions. I'm going to spend a minute or two, a couple of minutes right now, just reminding you about a couple more questions. Make a note of these. In regard to relief from material distress, well, there's a very famous verse it's spoken by Queen Kunti. Yeah, a very famous verse spoken by Queen Kunti. And it's all about how people who are just enjoying life on the material platform, how they can't really make progress. So it's a famous verse, 1st Canto, chapter 8, verse 26. I'm just going to read it. Janmaishvarya Shrutashribiya, Edamana Madapuman, Naivarhat Yabidatam Vai, Twama Kinchana Gocharam. Translation: My Lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who's on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. So make a note of that, because you never know. You may be asked a question. You may be asked a question about that. Okay, so that's Queen Kunti. Then in regard to Krishna consciousness being all auspicious, there's another verse. It's dedicated to Advaita Acharya, Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 6:12. Jagat Mangala Advaita, Mangala Guna Dhamma, Mangala Charitra Sada, Mangala Yanra Nama. Being a reservoir of all auspicious attributes, Sri Advaita Acharya is all auspicious for the world. His characteristics, activities, and name are always auspicious. So you never know. You may be asked a question about this, about how auspicious Advaita Acharya is. Then we also discussed about, in regard to the happiness of becoming, oh, he's gone. Oh my Lord. On Ushal Otsuda. Excuse me. With 5 cameras, something's bound to go wrong sometime. So, okay, and we talked about, at some point we talked about the different types of liberations, 5 types, and one of them is sayuja, or merging into the existence of the Lord, which no devotees accept. So devotees, anyway, there's a verse here, Madhya Leela 6, 268. Sayuja sunite bhaktir hayagrina bhaya naraka vanchaye tabu sayuja na laya. A pure devotee does not like even to hear about sayuja mukti, which inspires him with fear and hatred. Indeed, the pure devotee would rather go to hell than merge into the effulgence of the Lord. So who knows? You may get a question on that also. Okay, so let us now continue. Let us continue with our going through the 6 characteristics. So we got through 3. There's another 3 to go, but there's not so much information about those other 3, so we'll get through them. All right, so the next one, the 4th one, at least as listed out in Nectar of Devotion, is the rareness. How rare is pure devotional service? It is very rare. And there are reasons why. Just to get into it a bit, let me just read, let's see, I'm going to read the first paragraph. In the preliminary phase of spiritual life, there are different kinds of austerities, penances, and similar processes for attaining self-realization. However, even if an executor of these processes is without any material desire, he still cannot achieve devotional service. Aha. And aspiring by oneself alone to achieve devotional service is also not very hopeful, because Krishna does not agree to award devotional service to merely anyone. Krishna can easily offer a person material happiness or even liberation, but he does not agree very easily to award a person engagement in his devotional service. Devotional service can in fact be attained only through the mercy of a pure devotee. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 19.151, it is said, by the mercy of the spiritual master who is a pure devotee, and by the mercy of Krishna, one can achieve the platform of devotional service. There is no other way. So, okay, that was the first paragraph, and it's, you know, it's very clear, and it's very nice, actually, very instructive, that there are two main reasons why devotional service, or particularly pure devotional service, is rare. Yes. So the first one is that devotional service, the basic idea is devotional service cannot be achieved mechanically. That is the real point, in essence, that a person may do austerities, penances, and other whatever sacrifices, whatever it may be. And within that person's mind, they may be thinking, yes, I want to get devotional service. And they may have no material desire even, but still they cannot achieve devotional service. And this is just devotional service, actually. And it's not necessarily, although of course it may be pure devotional service also. So that's one very important reason, that to attain to devotional service, any level of devotional service, and particularly pure devotional service, you can't do it mechanically, just by following some formula. Yes. And secondly, the second reason, and this is very significant reason, is that pure devotional service is given by Krishna. And Krishna is not willing, he is not ready, he's very careful who he gives pure devotional service to. He doesn't give it to just anyone and everyone just like that. He gives, as we read, Prabhupada says, he gives, or he can give, material enjoyment, liberation, without the greatest, too much difficulty. But pure devotional service That is another thing. He's very careful. So, yes, and we can give, then of course Prabhupada mentioned at the end of the paragraph that it's only by the mercy of a pure devotee, the mercy of devotees, the combined mercy of Krishna and devotees, that a person can get devotional service. Yeah. So we can give an example in that regard. It's become a very well-known example. It's from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's the story of Lord Chaitanya meeting Venkatabhata, a devotee down in Sri Rangam in South India. And we won't go through all the details of the story. It's a bit of a long story, but that place, Sri Rangam, is where there's very ancient and very large and a very significant temple of Lord Vishnu, Ranganath. He's lying down, very big deity. And Lord Chaitanya stayed. He went there for the Chaturmasya one year when he was in South India, and he stayed with this family. The father, the husband, his name was Venkatabhata. They were, and they still are to this very day, pujaris in the Lakshmi temple, just around the corner from the main temple of Ranganath in Sri Rangam. Yes. So this Venkatabhata, he was a Sri Vaishnav, as generally all the devotees from South India are. They worship Lakshmi Narayan. They worship Lakshmi Narayan. Well, they're not all necessarily Sri Vaishnavas, although really a lot are, but they all worship Lakshmi Narayan. So Lord Chaitanya was staying with them for 4 months and could see this person is actually very sincere, but he's got this misunderstanding that the topmost level of Krishna consciousness or Vaishnavism is to be a devotee of Lakshmi Narayan. So Lord Chaitanya wanted to sort of awaken him to the worship of Radha and Krishna. So he started a discussion, a very interesting discussion. Lord Chaitanya said, just like he's just inquiring, he's interested, you say Lakshmi Narayan are the highest. Yes, they're the highest. But we read in the Vedic literatures, in Srimad Bhagavatam particularly, that Lakshmi left Narayan to join Krishna in the rasa dance. So she left her husband for Krishna. Does this indicate Krishna is higher? And Venkatabhata said, no. Actually, Krishna is a form, a Leela avatar of Narayan. So he's the same. So there's nothing wrong with Lakshmi associating with Krishna. And then Lord Chaitanya said, oh, very good, thank you. But why is it that she was not able to associate with him? She went to enter the rasa dance. She was not able to enter the rasa dance. If he, Krishna, is just some sort of lesser avatar of Narayan, then why was she not able to approach him? And she still cannot. She's been doing austerities for 5,000 years. in a place called Bailva in Vrajmandala. And Venkatabhata said, I can't understand that, you'll have to explain it. And so Lord Chaitanya explained, she was not willing to follow in the footsteps of the Brijbasis in a humble way, serve them, and learn how to render service like they do. She wanted to remain big, important goddess of fortune, very opulent, and not become little village girl doing humble services. So the only way, the thing is, one has to follow in the footsteps of the great devotees. That was the point. And that's the point here, that devotional service can be attained only through the mercy of a pure devotee or pure devotees or devotees, along with the mercy of Krishna, and not mechanically. And you cannot just force Krishna. Watch out, Krishna, here I come, open the doors, I'm going to come in fast. No, Krishna's very careful. So Prabhupada goes on in the different purports here. The second paragraph is basically repeating the same point at least about the first reason, that not just by pious activity or austerity, etc., some mechanical approach, can you achieve devotional service. Even if you try like that for many, many thousands of births, can you imagine trying for many thousands of births? I tell you what, I can't. One's a lot. And then the third paragraph is bringing out the point. Prahlad Maharaj makes the point that you cannot attain to the stage of devotional service unless you're blessed by the dust of the lotus feet of a pure devotee. Yeah. Then, well, now, okay, it's the fourth paragraph actually. Is that this last paragraph makes it clear, at least how Krishna has to approve. My dear king, it is Lord Krishna, known as Mukunda, who's the eternal protector of the Pandavas and the Yadus. He's also your spiritual master and instructor in every respect. He's the only worshipable God for you. He is very dear and affectionate, and is the director of all your activities, both individual and familial. And what's more, he sometimes carries out your orders. So like this, the verse goes on. This is all about getting the mercy of the Lord. Getting the mercy of the Lord to achieve pure devotional service through trying to render service and humbly taking shelter of the Lord. And then just in the last sentence there, Prabhupada says, the purport to this verse is that the Lord easily offers liberation, but he rarely agrees to offer a soul devotional service, because by devotional service, the Lord himself becomes purchased by the devotee. So this is the thing. Krishna is very careful who he gives devotional service to, particularly pure devotional service, because if someone comes to the level, even if they just start doing some devotional service, then, they, in due course, they may well come to the level of pure devotional service. And when they come to that level, like in the Damodar Leela, Mother Yashoda, then Mother Yashoda was able to control Krishna by her pure devotional service, by her love manifested in pure devotional service. First of all, she was able to catch him, and then she was able to tie him. And in this way, Krishna became trapped. He couldn't do anything, couldn't even free himself, because he was tied ultimately by the love of Mother Yashoda. So therefore Krishna, before he gives anyone pure devotional service, he reserves the right to sort of check you and see how you're doing, who are you, what are you, and what do you really want in life? Do you want to serve me, or do you want to just do some service, get something material, and then go on your own way? So like this, Krishna is very hesitant. Do I want to be controlled by you? Are you the sort of person I want to be controlled by? So that's the essence then of this subject of the rareness of pure devotional service, which then brings us to, according to the list in Nectar of Devotion, number 5, the happiness of becoming one with the Supreme. The happiness of becoming, well, wait a minute, let me just, how is it put actually? How do they put it? Okay, actually the way it's put is, it's not just, even though in the text it just says the happiness of becoming one with the Supreme, the actual idea is, and it's in the initial list, in the beginning part of the chapter, those in pure devotional service deride even the conception of liberation. They think it's sort of like a big joke, or we read the verse just some minutes ago. They may even be afraid of it, shocked by it. What is this? I don't want to have anything to do with it. So, an interesting point is made in the beginning of the discussion here, which is actually a very short discussion. Srila Rupa Goswami says that if Brahmananda, or the happiness of becoming one with the Supreme, is multiplied by 1 trillion-fold, it still cannot compare to an atomic fraction of the happiness derived from the ocean of devotional service. Yes. And then in the next paragraph, there's a similar, another verse which is saying something very similar. Hari Bhakti Sudadaya Prahlad Maharaj says, "My dear Lord of the universe, I'm feeling transcendental pleasure in your presence and have become merged in the ocean of happiness. I now consider the happiness of Brahmananda, that same becoming one with the Lord, with the Supreme, to be no more than the water and the impression left by a cow's hoof in the earth, compared to this ocean of bliss." Yeah. You know, we're all here living in the temple. We're all here engaged in devotional service. When we came in here, just whenever it was, 5 o'clock, was it? Yeah, just before 4:45, His Grace Ram Vijay was on the altar, worshipping the deities. So we're all here doing devotional service, and that's very nice. And our experience, generally, our experience is that it's very nice. It's really very nice. It's really amazing. But the bad news is we're not really experiencing so much of that bliss. But the good news is we have a lot more to look forward to if we persevere and carry on and really try our best. It's definitely like that. So, for example, Srila Rupa Goswami says, it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that when I chant the holy names, then the experience of the actual chanting as it happens in my mouth, using my tongue, the experience of that chanting is so amazing for my tongue. I wish I had hundreds of tongues. How can I do it justice with just one tongue? And then he says, when I hear that sound vibration of the Hare Krishna mantra with my ears, then I wish I had thousands of ears. How can I do it how can I relish the amount of bliss there is in that sound just with 2 ears, with one set of ears? It's just not possible. And then when that sound vibration enters my ears and goes to the courtyard of my heart and dances there, then it's so amazing. All my senses become inert, and I just become overwhelmed. So, we also, as long as we chant nicely, attentively, and don't let our mind... Attentiveness is such an important part of Krishna consciousness, whether it be in chanting, whether it be in worship of the deity, whether it be in cooking, whether it be in any type of devotional service. Attentiveness to what you're doing is so important. And therefore, we sometimes tell devotees that in Krishna consciousness, there are 3 rules. Well, in chanting particularly, but it applies throughout. In chanting, there are 3 main rules. The first is to chant attentively. The second is to chant attentively. And the third is that by all means, somehow or other, chant attentively. If you remember that, I mean, not just remember it, but if you do that, you will be doing quite well. If you do that, you'll be doing very well. I promise you. And if it's not like that, if your experience is not like that, but you are chanting fully attentively, if your experience is not wonderful, I will give you your money back. Okay. So that's one example. It's just so amazing. Another well-known example Prabhupada gives on a number of occasions is the example of Yamunacharya, who in his earlier life, I don't know how many years, but it might have been even half his life, but it was definitely a fair number of years, he was just a big material enjoyer. That was all. That was his life. But then he became a devotee. And when he became a devotee, he really became a devotee. Just like a first-class devotee. So there's a famous verse in which he says, and Prabhupada quotes it from time to time, that now I'm tasting the nectar of devotional service. It's just so amazing. It's so amazing that when I think back to how I used to enjoy sex life, when I think back and I remember that, it seems so crazy and foolish and useless. He says that my lips curl in distaste and I spit at the thought because of the taste of pleasure he's getting, which makes material enjoyment seem laughable, or in the case of impersonalism, makes the happiness of impersonal realization seem laughable also. Yes. So these points are made here. Yes, these points are made here. Let us go on, devotees, to the last section, that pure devotional service is the only way to attract Krishna. And even though it's a very important subject, somehow it's just, well, it's not such a short, I suppose, description. So the thing is that the Prabhupada explains in the first paragraph that Krishna is all attractive. Krishna is all attractive. But devotional service is so attractive that it attracts even Krishna. And Prabhupada goes on to point out that Srimati Radharani is like you could say, the personification of pure devotional service. She's certainly the presiding deity of pure devotional service, and like the absolute, complete embodiment of pure devotional service. And she attracts Krishna. She attracts Krishna in very amazing ways. So, Krishna is so attractive that he is called Madan Mohan. This is all in the first paragraph, actually. Krishna is so attractive, he's called Madan Mohan because he attracted Cupid. There's a pastime there. There was, I think it's more like was, a little place on the Parikrama path, just around the bottom, not far from our temple, which was called Mohan Tir Ghat. And this is where Krishna attracted Cupid. Krishna was dancing with the gopis. Cupid came along and thought, look at this boy with all these girls. You know, he thinks he's not attracted by them. I'm going to fire one of my arrows at him. And then you just see how he's going to become attracted by these girls. So Cupid was trying to aim at Krishna, but Krishna was dancing so, quickly and just in very amazing ways, Cupid couldn't sort of really focus on him properly. Couldn't get a proper aim. But then as he's trying and he's really looking at Krishna, trying to get an aim, he realized, oh, just see how attractive Krishna is. Wow, he's really attractive. And this happened a couple of times as he's trying to aim. And finally he saw, wow, Krishna is just totally attractive. And he became overwhelmed and dropped his bow and fainted. That happened there at Mohan Tir Ghat. And therefore Krishna is called Madan Mohan, the attractor of Madan, who's Cupid. Mohan means attractor. But Radharani attracts Krishna. Radharani attracts Krishna, therefore she is called Madan Mohan Mohini, the attractor of Cupid. And this is one of our questions, devotees. What does this word mean? Plus, what are the three sources of happiness that we discussed yesterday? And why does Krishna really give devotional service, and particularly pure devotional service? So therefore we should put ourselves, Prabhupada explains in the second paragraph, we should put ourselves under the shelter of Srimati Radharani. Prabhupada explains how, this is the second paragraph, that in Vrindavan the devotees put themselves under the shelter of Radharani. And any of you who have been there would know that you can get into just a whole Radhe Radhe program for the whole day, if you're mixing with the local people. Even the Muslims chant Radhe Radhe. They do, yes. They chant Radhe Radhe when they're addressed. We could also, just to make this point a little clearer, tell you a little story which is actually recounted a little further on in Nectar of Devotion, but we can tell it here too. This is the story of how Krishna at one point was feeling embarrassed that whenever I meet Radharani and the gopis, but particularly Radharani, whenever I meet Radharani, then I become affected so much by her presence that I start sort of losing my demeanor, my cool. Yeah. I start losing control of myself. And sometimes I do like funny or strange things. And when I do strange things, then the devotees, and particularly Radharani and the gopis, they laugh at me. And it's embarrassing. And I'm tired of it. So Krishna decided that from now on, whenever Radharani comes by, I will be cool. I will not be affected, no emotions, no reaction. Whatever I'm doing, I'll just continue doing it. Let her come, no problem. So Krishna then went out to milk the cows. And he was happily milking the cows and thinking, yes, let her come, and I will just continue milking the cows, and I will show her, that I'm a very organized person. So there he is, milking the cows, and sure enough, who should come but Srimati Radharani, and the gopis. And Krishna thought, right, that's it. Here they are. Now I'm going to just carry on, and I'm going to do it. Let them come. I will not be affected. So the gopis approached, and now they're just fairly close to Krishna. And they're looking at Krishna. He's not even looking at them. And he's just, milking the cows. Just see how I am. I'm a transcendental person. I'm a very cool-headed young man. And the gopis stood there. They're a little amazed. He's never able to do this. What happened to him? And Krishna's thinking, just see how nicely I'm doing. Suddenly, Radharani and the gopis burst out with laughter, pointing at Krishna. Look at him. Oh no. Ha, ha, ha. And Krishna thought, what is this? Why are they doing that? I'm together. I'm very responsible and mature. Why are they laughing at me? But then Krishna looked and he saw. Krishna saw he was milking a bull. It's mentioned in Nectar of Devotion. And then Krishna was just like, oh no, not again. So yeah, there are challenges, even in being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes. So, well, basically, I would say that then there are, how many more? There's 5 or 6 paragraphs here altogether. Let me just check, what is it? 1, 2, oh, okay, yeah. 1, 2, and then 2 is broken, going over the page, so that makes 3, 4, 5. There's 5 paragraphs here. Yeah, and the basic idea which is discussed in the other paragraphs at least, well, let's just read a couple of the verses. They're basically going over the principle in similar ways. In the 3rd paragraph, the one that goes over to the next page on your PDF, this fact is corroborated by Krishna in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 14:20, where he says, "My dear Uddhava, you may know it from me, that the attraction I feel for devotional service rendered by my devotees is not to be attained even by the performance of mystic yoga, philosophical speculation, ritualistic sacrifices, the study of Vedanta, the practice of severe austerities, or the giving of everything in charity. These are, of course, very nice activities, but they are not as attractive to me as the transcendental loving service rendered by my devotees." And then Prabhupada in the next, well, let me just make a point here, is that we just talked about the 3 rules of chanting japa. Anyway, yeah, it's an idea. It's actually, there's definitely something to it. And we talked about how we have to be attentive in chanting, but in all of our devotional service, we have to be attentive. Attentive meaning, first of all, that we understand, what am I doing? Just the sort of the general idea, what am I doing here? I am serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead under the supervision of Srimati Radharani, under the supervision of Srila Prabhupada and my spiritual master. This is what I'm doing. Therefore, it's such an important activity done under the supervision of such the most important persons. Therefore, I must do it to the very best of my ability. And not just, as sometimes we say, not just on automatic pilot. Some devotees have been doing the same service for years and years and more years and even more years. They get to the point where they can practically, and they may even say it sometimes, where they can do that service with their eyes closed. Something like that. They just become so accustomed to it. Yeah. But to do it like that is not a good idea at all. Yes. We should do our service very attentively, understanding how important it is, how it's being done under the supervision of the most important persons, and then really give it our best, that our consciousness will be that I am thinking how I am doing this for Krishna. I'm doing this for Krishna, for Prabhupada. How would they like it done? What would be a really suitable way to do it for Krishna's pleasure? And not just, the way I find the easiest to do it as quickly as possible, or just the way I find it that I like the best. But how will Krishna actually get the greatest enjoyment from my service? So do it with a service attitude, and really do it to one's best ability. Then when you do it like that, or to whatever degree we do it like that, Krishna appreciates. And even Krishna becomes attracted. And Krishna becomes interested. Who is this devotee here who's doing this nice service? Yeah. And then Krishna, of course, Krishna gives mercy in different ways, but Krishna will really give mercy if he sees you're really trying your best to do the service as nicely as you can, because he has become attracted. And this is what we want. As Prabhupada says, there's a class of Srila Prabhupada's on Bhagavad Gita. What is it now? Chapter 12, verses 13 and 14, in which Krishna says, Krishna starts talking about, there's a whole sequence, but Krishna starts talking about what sort of qualities in a devotee make that devotee dear to him, basically. What types of consciousness, what types of moods he appreciates in a devotee, which endears the devotee to him. So in that class, it's interesting, you should have a look. There's only one class on those two verses. That two verses are together. And Prabhupada begins more or less by saying, yes, this is Krishna consciousness. How will Krishna love me? In other words, how can I become a person, the type of person with the types of qualities and the type of mood that Krishna will become attracted to me? This is what we're doing here. We're not here just to get it done as quickly as possible, whatever it is, whatever service it is. We're not here just to do what we like doing the most. We're here to actually give pleasure to the Lord. And if we do it very nicely in these types of ways, Krishna will become attracted to us. And eventually Krishna will feel that this devotee is so nice, I cannot live without this devotee. I'm going to take this devotee back to Goloka Vrindavan. And there you go, back home, back to Godhead, by the mercy of the Lord. In the next paragraph, it's the second to last paragraph in the whole chapter, actually. The point which is brought out, it's kind of a different point, but it's also the same point. It's a very nice point that Maharaj Yudhisthira was appreciating the service being rendered to the Lord by certain devotees. And he was thinking, these people, or he was appreciating the glories of the character of Prahlad, actually. And Yudhisthira was thinking, Prahlad is such a devotee, but what am I? I'm not even a devotee, really. And the point is there that Krishna becomes attracted to a devotee who has that humble type of consciousness. So there's this whole explanation here. And so Narada was there, and Narada then expresses to Maharaj Yudhisthira how you're also very fortunate, you've got so much mercy. And in other words, he speaks appreciation of Maharaj Yudhisthira. So in order to attract Krishna, along with doing our service very attentively, trying to do it in the right mood and very nicely, as the Lord likes it done, we should also be very appreciative of the devotees, which includes serving the devotees. It's not just a mental thing that we just look at the devotees and think, oh, look how nicely they're serving. But we express the appreciation by rendering service to them and by glorifying them. Krishna appreciates this, along with doing your service as nicely as possible. Oops. Uh-oh. All right. I had hoped we might get right through, but we didn't. All right. 1 minute. All right. So there's just a little bit left, actually. Just this final paragraph. Oops, wait a sec. I got to get him back online. Nope. Right. So, okay, let's have a look at this last paragraph in Bhagavad Gita, at the end of the 11th chapter, when Krishna has shown the universal form. Just after that, in the same chapter, Arjuna prays to Krishna that I sort of underestimated you, I minimized you. I thought you were just my relative and like that, cousin, brother, a prince in a royal family which is under our family, because the Kurus were ruling from Hastinapur, and Maharaj Ugrasena and his family and everyone, including Krishna, were ruling in Dwarika under the Pandavas. Yeah. So Arjuna apologizes to Krishna for disrespecting Krishna in these ways, and Prabhupada explains. Let us just close by reading the rest of this paragraph. So that was the position of the Pandavas. Although Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the greatest among all greats, he remained with those royal brothers, being attracted by their devotion, by their friendship, and by their love. That is the proof of how great this process of devotional service is. It can attract even the Supreme Personality of Godhead. God is great, but devotional service is greater than God. Shri Shri Radha Radha, Shri Giri Govardhan, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Okay, just hang on, don't move. So, that is the proof of how great this process of devotional service is. It can attract even the Supreme Personality of Godhead. God is great, but devotional service is greater than God because it attracts him. People who are not in devotional service can never understand what great value there is in rendering service to the Lord. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna. Okay. Haribol.